It is a wonderful Tuesday morning, the 17th of September 2024, and the time is exactly 2 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. Good morning, land of the brave and beyond, and a very warm welcome to your Tuesday morning edition of the Public Enterprises Information Sharing Session. As always, we are coming to you live and direct from the Government Information Center studio in the heart of the nation's capital, Windhoek, and it's always an absolute pleasure being in your company. For this morning's session, I will be your host, Helene Philippus-Hamunyela, and I am urging you, Namibia, to be part of this very important conversation and follow the discussion on our social media platforms where we are streaming the show live. On Facebook, we are at Ministry of Information and Communications Technology. Alternatively, you can stream us live on our YouTube channel, and our handle there is MICT Namibia. Now, on the menu this morning, we are unpacking an insight into the Namibia Estate Agent Board's perspectives and reflection, and I am joined in the studio by the manager for the Namibia Estate Agent Board, Mr. Festus Unengu. Mr. Unengu, once again, it's an absolute pleasure to have you in studio with me this morning. Good morning and welcome to the Government Information Center.
Good morning, Madam Helene, and thank you very much for having us here today.
Right. Now, of course, first things first to kickstart the discussion. For somebody that is not familiar with NEAB, who is the Namibia Estate Agent Board? When was it established? And what necessitated the establishment of the board?
Thank you very much again. The Namibia Estate Agents Board is a public enterprise that resorts under the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade, under the able leadership of Honorable Lucia Ipumbu. Mm-hmm. We are established in terms of the Estate Agents Act, Section 2 of the Estate Agents Act. Our mandate in terms of Section 7 of the same Act is to maintain and promote the integrity of estate agents. Mm-hmm. So in a nutshell, ours is to educate, train, and regulate estate agents.
Right. Now, of course, you are to regulate, so that means that you probably have objectives. Can you briefly highlight the objectives of the board?
The objectives of the board, inter alia, as I indicated, are number one, to educate estate agents. We are responsible for their certification, meaning that if you decide one day that you want to become an estate agent, you come to the Estate Agents Board, you register, we administer the examinations, and after you've done the examinations, we then issue with a certificate indicating that you have passed the examination. Secondly, after you've passed the examination, or when you comply with all the other requirements to become an estate agent, we issue you what we call a Fidelity Fund certificate that is valid for a year. Our objectives, inter alia, is also to protect the members of the public in terms of the work that estate agents do and so forth. And as I indicated, it is also our responsibility to discipline estate agents in instances where there have been allegations of misconduct. Yes.
That is a very important aspect, the conduct or misconduct, for the public to note, I believe. Now, how will a member of the public know that they are dealing with, it's called bonafide, or perhaps in layman's term, a genuine or certified agent?
Okay. Yeah. Firstly, an estate agent is someone that, for the acquisition of gain on his or her account, either on behalf of someone, either sells or lets immovable property, receives money on behalf of someone else. And in terms of our act, every estate agent must apply for the Fidelity Fund certificate annually in terms of Section 16. Now, to get back to your question, we issue every estate agent who's legally registered with us, we issue them with what we call a Fidelity Fund certificate.
Right.
Basically a license which is valid from the 1st of January until the 31st of December of each year. This license is meant to be displayed in the office of an estate agent so that members of the public who are operating with this estate agent know that they are indeed working with a bonafide estate agent. In addition to that, we also issue them with ID cards which indicate that this is an estate agent registered for that specific year. So we implore members of the public to ask estate agents to say, no, look, we understand that you are issued with an ID. Please provide me your ID for this year, the ID that is relevant for 2024. Or if you enter into an estate agent's office, somewhere on their walls, along with all other compliance certificates, there should be a Fidelity Fund certificate issued by the Namibia Estate Agent Board, which is relevant for the current year.
Right. Now, Namibia, this is a very important topic of discussion because one way or another, you may have to deal with a real estate agent, whether acquiring a property or perhaps through rental also. So it's very critical to be part of this conversation, and you need to get the right information then from the board. The manager, Mr. Festus Unengu, is in studio with me, so please stay put. Do not, disappear, because this is important information. Because in an event, you have perhaps, paid your deposit to an agent, and then when you vacate the building one time, the next time you need anything to do with refund, please stay put and listen to the feedback from Mr. Unengu here in studio with me. Now, Mr. Unengu, you have mentioned quite an important aspect of the real estate board. For one that would like to know, for example, if I have maybe members of the public that are sitting watching the now or listening on their radio sets, and they would like to know, they want to become real estate agents. What is the starting point? Because you've earlier mentioned that there is a Fidelity Fund certificate that needs to be issued, but amongst other requirements, what are all the requirements that are required for somebody to be issued that Fidelity Fund certificate?
Okay, thank you very much. The point of departure is first to write our examination. After they've written our examination, then you attend what we call an induction training workshop, where we invite different stakeholders who will then basically, the induction workshop or the induction training is basically the practical part of the examination, where we explain topics and so forth, and the different stakeholders will also come and give the inductees an understanding of what was said, during the examinations, or what was explained during the examinations. After you've attended the induction training, you then obviously have to register your business, a closed corporation, a PTY, LTD, whatever the case may be, with the Business Intellectual Property Association of Namibia. Then you do the name reservation, etc., etc. You come to us. One of the main requirements, or one of the biggest requirements with the Namibia Estate Agents Board, is that we require people entering our industry to obtain a police clearance certificate, which is not older than 6 months. The reason for this is that we want to ensure that people that enter the industry in terms of Section 27 of our Act have not been found guilty of a crime which involves the element of dishonesty, because these people will be working with what we call other people's money, deposits, etc., etc. They will also be operating a trust account which contains the money of other people. So we need to ensure that these people are fit and proper to work with other people's money.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I couldn't help but wonder at the back of my mind when you were busy responding to this question right now. Does the Namibia Real Estate Agent Board only regulate then real estate agents, or are there other parties that are perhaps also under the regulation of the board?
Okay, thank you again for the question. As alluded to earlier, our enabling legislation is the Estate Agents Act 112 of 1976. So as it stands, we currently only educate, regulate, and train estate agents only. However, the landscape has changed significantly since the advent of the Estate Agents Act. Different players have emerged in the property industry. Stakeholders such as property developers, managing agents, and auctioneers. And the board, together with our ministry, identified that there was a need for these different stakeholders also to be regulated. And as such, we started with what we call the Property Practitioners Bill back in about 2017 or 2018. Our Minister, Honorable Lucia Ipumbu, has managed to successfully navigate the Property Practitioners Bill through Parliament. It went through Parliament. Now we are just waiting for for it to go through the different stages and then to be signed by the President. So there is currently, we only regulate estate agents, but in future we will also be regulating property managers. Those are the colleagues that manage complexes. We will also be regulating property developers. We will also be regulating auctioneers as well.
Right. Now let's unpack the issue of refund. It is known that when, let's say, a tenant, a prospective tenant wants to acquire, not to acquire, but to rent a property from, let's say, the owner, but through an agent. Let's talk about this refund. What is refund? Why is it necessary? Who is it paid to? And in an event that this prospective tenant, now that the time comes to, the rental contract comes to an end, who is responsible to refund this deposit as it's usually referred to?
Okay. Before I answer the question, I want to start from the genesis. So, estate agents work in terms of the law of agency. In terms of the law of agency, an estate agent must receive an instruction from a principal to do something. And that instruction is what we call a mandate. An estate agent cannot merumoto on his or her own volition start working or do something. They need to receive an instruction, a mandate, and in terms of this mandate instruction, they then do what they have been instructed to do. Okay, that is the first thing. So after this estate agent receives an instruction or mandate from the principal, then the estate agent then carries out the instruction of the principal, and after the instruction has been carried out, this principal, this person that gave the estate agent the instruction, must then pay the remuneration of the estate agent. So what happens when, for example, you rent a property, what happens is that all that the tenant knows is that I need to pay a deposit and I need to pay the rent.
Right.
So firstly, before we enter into that, in terms of the law, the deposit money only has one function and one function only. The deposit money, the function of the deposit money is to restore when the tenant gives the money to the estate agent, in some instances given to the landlord as well, but when the tenant and the deposit money remains and always remains the property of the tenant. So when the tenant gives this money to the estate agent or the landlord, the tenant is saying, I give this money to you as a promise that once I move out of your place, out of the dwelling, I will, if the place is not in the condition which I have found it, I give you permission to use that deposit money to restore it to the condition in which it was. In terms of the common law, the landlord has got certain responsibilities, the tenant has got certain responsibilities.
Right.
The responsibilities of the tenants, the first one is to pay rent, obviously, and the second one is to take care of their dwelling.
Right.
So in the instance that something is not, when you move out and the dwelling is not in the condition which you found it in, the deposit money is then used to restore the dwelling in the condition in which you found it. All right. So now when you, Madam Milene, come to Festus Unengwe, the estate agent, you as a tenant, all that you know is, okay, I need to pay a deposit, I need to pay, what do you call it, rent. So what happens in the industry is that what estate agents charge is that they charged, their commission is basically the equivalent of the first month's rent. So if the rent is 10,000, the deposit is also 10,000, then the estate agent will also charge you 10,000. So you, Ms. Eleni, you give me a 10,000 for rent, 10,000 for deposit, and what happens in the industry is that the estate agents will, in most instances, what they say, give the deposit to the owner and keep the first month's rent as their commission. Which is not correct.
Right.
What should happen, one can understand why they do it, one must also be honest, but it's not correct. What must happen is that, the deposit must be taken, the first month's rent must be taken, the deposit money must be paid into an interest-bearing trust account.
Okay.
And then the estate agent must issue an invoice to the person that gave him or her the mandate and say, I fulfilled your mandate, pay me, here's your first month's rent, pay me. But one can understand why they don't, and also because of the practicalities and all these kind of things. So what happens in the industry is that estate agents normally give what they say is the deposit to the owner, and then at the end of the day, when the tenant moves out and the question is, where's my deposit? Right. And they know we gave it to the owner, and the owner says, but I received something for me. I was under the impression that it was the first month's rent, etc., etc., etc. And that is where the confusion comes in. But to answer your question, the deposit money is, in terms of the Estate Agents Act, supposed to be kept in an interest-bearing trust account. After the tenant moves out, the tenant is entitled to the deposit money plus the interest in that interest-bearing trust account, less all the damages that the tenant caused. And I want to pause here. I mentioned earlier that in terms of the common law, the landlord has got certain responsibilities and the tenant has got certain responsibilities. Right. Wear and tear is or are the responsibilities of the landlord.
Normal wear and tear.
Normal wear and tear. Normal wear and tear is the responsibility of the landlord, not of the tenant. So if I use a tap and the rubber every day and the rubber of the tap finishes, it is not the responsibility of the tenant to repair that.
Right.
That is the responsibility of the landlord. The landlord is by law required to keep the dwelling in a condition that is fit and proper for human habitation. All right. So to answer your question, the deposit money must be kept in an interest-bearing trust account after the tenant moves out of the place. All else being equal, the tenant must be given the deposit plus the interest, less the repairs that have been made to restore the place to its original state.
Right. Now, that's just a follow-up question. How does one draw the distinctive between a normal wear and tear and other defects or defects in the property?
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, normal wear and tear, it would be, you have to use the dwelling. So you have to use the toilet to flush the toilet, and the shower, you have to use the shower. So under normal circumstances, there are things that will come to the end of its lifespan. So that is the responsibility of the landlord. But I mean, things like if
bulbs, for example.
If I break something, generally, I would think that if it is something that the tenant broke either by accident or on purpose, that would be his or her responsibility.
Right.
But normal things that you use normally, that that is the responsibility of the landlord, including land taxes. So the landlord cannot, for example, or the estate agent cannot, for example, say that you are responsible for paying rates and taxes. No,
Right.
land taxes are solely the responsibility of the
owner.
owner.
Right. Now, Mr. Onengo, some landlords, for example, do not adhere to the responsibility of depositing the deposit money into an interest-bearing trust account. And, like you've earlier mentioned, at the end of the tenure of the tenant, once the tenant now needs to move out, because obviously they may have utilized the money already, given that, the tenant would, not the tenant, pardon me, but the agent would, of course, then get their commission. And as you've earlier on mentioned, that it's equivalent to the first monthly rent. Right? And now, at the end of the day, if it's not, if it's asked of because of course the tenant will ask the agent, because the agent was the facilitating or the facilitator between the landlord and the tenant. Let's just say, you did earlier mention it's the responsibility of the landlord, but in events whereby you find that the tenant really does not want to understand that that money was paid over to the landlord, should it be the responsibility of the agent to then get that money, or must is it ethical? Is it only ethical for the tenant to pay the money into the account of the landlord, or for the agent?
Okay. Firstly, as I mentioned at the very, very beginning, we operate in terms of the Estate Agents Act, 112 of 1976. So nowhere in the Estate Agents Act do we have the legal standing to say anything about landlords. Ours is, and as it stands legally now, is only to talk about estate agents. So I want to make that categorically clear.
Okay.
In terms of the Estate Agents Act, as I indicated also, the deposit money is the money of the tenant. There's no way that the deposit does not equate commission. The deposit does not belong to the landlord. So in terms of the Estate Agents Act, when a lease is facilitated by an estate agent, we require that deposit to be paid in an interest-bearing trust account. Once the deposit money is paid over to the landlord, and one must be honest, we understand that in the industry here, there's a huge difference between theory and practice. Once in the industry, if a landlord says, "Look, I want the deposit money to be paid to me," the estate agents, that is what they do. So, but in terms of the act, the what do you call it? The deposit money must be paid into an interest-bearing trust account of an estate agent. And the reason for that is that, in that way they are protected. We have what we call a Fidelity Fund account, a Fidelity Insurance Fund, to which all estate agents contribute to. And should an estate agent then defraud a member of the public, of course, in terms of our Act, Section 20 of our Act, there are certain steps that they need to follow. For now, it is a very long and cumbersome process, but in the Property Practitioners Bill, it's a bit faster. But in terms of the Section 20 of our Act, if a member of the public has been defrauded by an estate agent who kept their deposit money and so forth, not even deposit money, even rental money and so forth, after they have followed the processes indicated in in our Act, they then have the right to claim the money from our Fidelity Fund. So if your money was not in that interest-bearing trust account, if it was with the landlord, then,
You've lost out.
you've lost out. We are there to protect, to regulate estate agents in the interest of the public. So the public need to understand that. All right.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Right. Now, Mr. Onengu, as far as professional development is concerned, what training and professional development opportunities are available for real estate agents given the complexity of the nature of the business in which they operate?
The nature in which, or the business in which estate agents operate is not very complex, madam. We have, estate agents have, we have a code of conduct.
Right.
And basically when members of the public come to complain to us, we basically, what we do is we look at the, we look at what is the issue, what is the person complaining about, then we look at the rule. What does the code of conduct say about that particular thing? We then apply the law to the facts, and then we come to a conclusion. So in my humble opinion, there's nothing very difficult about that. In all our trainings, we emphasize to estate agents that, they should know the code of conduct by heart. If they know that, then there's nothing, you cannot do anything wrong, if I can put it like that. But to answer your question in terms of education and training, we after the examination, after the induction training, we have an annual training for estate agents. We look at issues that we encountered, from members of the public. What problems are they facing? What are the complaints? Most of the complaints that we receive. And lately, one, for example, like one that we have received lately is the one on eviction.
Right.
So we've received complaints on eviction, or not just eviction, but also other things. We then invite different stakeholders. We then invite estate agents and even members of the public to attend our training, and then we give them training on those various topics. So we look at what is contemporary in the industry, we invite different stakeholders, and then we train estate agents on those specific topics. Just to let members of the public know that I spoke about eviction. So we've identified that is a big issue. We have invited a certain law firm to assist us in giving training to estate agents and members of the public. The training will take place as from the 14th until the 18th of October. We urge members of the public and estate agents to keep an eye on our website. All the information will be there, the venues, etc., and then to please register and come and join us there. This training is not only for estate agents, this training is also for members of the public as well, because ours is not only to educate and train estate agents, but also to inform members of the public as to what it is that we do, and where they can come and get more information if need be.
Okay, now earlier on I mentioned about the complexity of the real estate agent. I would want to clarify the reason why I deemed it complex. Because see, you are dealing with other people's money. You are dealing with a landlord who, for example, you are telling them that for the first month of you renting out your property, unfortunately nothing will come in your pocket. The 10,000, if the property is rented out for 10,000, goes into a trust-bearing, interest-bearing trust account, and the other 10,000 for the services rendered by the real estate agent goes to the real estate agent, and the landlord may not understand, or the property owner may not understand about that. So to me, it's quite complex, because if an agent is dependent on that for survival, of course, they will most definitely want, they would want a solution. So hence, I wondered, from the board's point of view, how are they trained to overcome some of this? Because it can become very buried.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so hence, I just wanted to clarify that and not to,
Okay, no, thank you very much for that.
Right. Now, As far as property development, professional development, we've touched briefly on that, and licensing and compliance as well. Now talk to us about the challenges and solutions that the board might be experiencing or faced with at the moment, because of course as a board regulating an industry, you may have encountered such. What are some of the challenges that you've encountered?
Okay. Firstly, one of the challenges that we encounter is we are responsible for regulating estate agents all over Namibia. And in terms of Section 9 of our Act, the funding that we receive, the licensing fees, etc., that estate agents pay, we use that for our operations. So that is one of the challenges that we encounter, in that currently in terms of finances, we are not able to properly carry out our mandate. The Ministry of Industrialization and Trade has come on board in the last 2 or so financial years, and hopefully they will come on board again the next financial year as well. So that is the biggest challenge that we have. The second challenge, in my view, is that the current legislation is limiting in that we only regulate estate agents. As indicated earlier, there are other stakeholders, other players in the industry that also need regulation. Members of the public need protection from them, and hence the Property Practitioners Bill. So the sooner that bill becomes an act of parliament, the sooner we operationalize that bill, then many of these challenges will not be there anymore. So, but the main challenges, as we've indicated, also are those two: the finances and the legal impediment, if I can put it like that. And the solution, basically, as indicated also, is that the Property Practitioners Bill. We look forward to having that bill become an act of parliament, and then being operationalized as well. It doesn't really only help that it becomes an act of parliament, but we don't have the capacity or the finances to do what we need to do. But all indications are that once this bill becomes an act of parliament, we will be better able to regulate the property industry.
Right. Okay. Now, those were challenges. What are some of the highlights that then the board has gone through that are notable?
Yeah. No. There are many highlights that I can, but the biggest one that I would like to bring it to the attention of the Namibian people is the Property Practitioners Bill. This bill is just for information. Everything that we have said is on our website. We encourage members of the public to visit our website, www.neab.co.na. All the information is there. Even the Property Practitioners Bill is on the website. We have a summary on the Property Practitioners Bill and other information. But to get back, the biggest highlight for us is the Property Practitioners Bill. That piece of legislation, as I indicated, will solve many problems for us. It will solve many issues in the industry. Also, the bill is very consumer centric. So it focuses a lot on protecting the members of the public. Also, there are also other alternative dispute resolution mechanisms incorporated into the bill. Issues such as we indicated earlier, getting back your money and so forth. There are also faster and easier ways of getting your money back, and also other processes that are not so legalistic in nature. So I'm very excited for the Property Practitioners Bill. I'm really very excited, and that is one of the biggest highlights that I can mention now at this moment.
Okay. Given that is such an important piece of legislation, is there perhaps any chances that it may be published in the local indigenous languages, because you have some owners or property owners that aren't English speakers, or they don't understand English. Is there any chance, perhaps?
Yeah, no. Ours is to inform members of the public. My board chairperson the other day, we also did something in the media, and she encouraged me to make sure that it is published in the different languages. So definitely, I don't think that should be a problem. We will definitely communicate this to our principals at board level and at ministerial level, and see if that can be done. But I don't see that should be an impediment to ensure that the bill is translated into the various indigenous languages.
Right. Namibia, you are still tuned into the Public Enterprises Information Sharing Session here at the Government Information Center with me, Hileni Felibus Hamunyela, and I am joined in the studio by the manager of the Namibia Estate Agent Board, that is Mr. Festus Unengu, and he's here to help us unpack the insight into the Namibia Estate Agent Board's perspectives and reflective. And you too can be part of this conversation by following the discussions on our social media platforms and interact with us. On Facebook, we are at Ministry of Information and Communications Technology. We are streaming the show live there. Alternatively, you can also follow or stream us live on our YouTube channel, and our handle there is MICT Namibia. Be part of the conversation. You can post your questions into the comment section there and get your feedback from Mr. Unengu in studio with me. Yes, back to the questions, Mr. Unengu. Quite often, especially on social media, I personally have come across a lot of scammers that are posting as estate agents. And in actual sense, they are not. One, they are stealing from the estate agents, but also from the board, because they do not pay any fees or liabilities that a certified real estate agent is supposed to make to the board. I just would like to know, for interest's sake, what are some of the punitive measures, if at all, are they in place that to make sure that these culprits are brought to book?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. Before I start, I just want to say, look, what we experience is that members of the public, they don't consult the estate agent's board before they engage the services of an estate agent. One of our responsibilities is to inform members of the public as to who is registered and who is not. You can simply pick up the phone and call, send us an email and ask, is ABCD registered? And we'll inform you, say, yes, this person is registered, or this person is not registered. Do not work with this person. All right, so that is the first thing. Then the second thing is that we work in terms of the Estate Agents Act, as I keep on mentioning. So the Estate Agents Act is an act of Parliament, and anybody who contravenes the Estate Agents Act is committing a crime. So every estate agent needs to register with us annually, and after which we then give them what we call this Fidelity Fund certificate. If you don't do that, you may not do the work of an estate agent as defined in Section 1 of our Act. Now, those colleagues that work as estate agent, those scammers that you've mentioned, if members of the public come across those people, they should report those people to us, or they can report them to the Namibian police, because in terms of our Act, in terms of Section 34, read with Section 16 of our Act, it is illegal to work as an estate agent without being registered. In terms of our Act, again, in terms of Section 34, if you are found guilty that you did the work of an estate agent without being properly registered, you can either be sentenced to a fine of 5,000 Namibian dollars or 5 years imprisonment, or both.
Right.
Yeah, so doing the work of an estate agent without being registered is a criminal offense. It is a criminal offense. I just want to bring that to the attention of the members of the public, and we urge members of the public, to contact our office. It's simple. You pick up the phone. Is this person registered? You take a screenshot or whatever, or cell phone number, ID number, name of the person. We have a database of all registered estate agents. They call us. We'll let you know whether this person is registered or not. If this person is not registered, you are not protected. Immediately report that person to the Namibian police. Report that person to the Estate Agents Board immediately, so that the criminal justice can, take its
course.
can take its course, criminal
Right.
justice system.
Okay. Now, I would want to know, for interest's sake, who are some of the stakeholders that the board work in close cooperation with?
Okay. We work in close cooperation with the Business Intellectual Property of BIPA. We work with BIPA. We work with the Financial Intelligence Center in terms of money laundering, etc. We also work with the City of Windhoek and other local authorities. We work with the different commercial banks. We work with different ministries, etc. But to mention a few, but those are the main stakeholders. We work with the Law Society of Namibia, etc., etc., etc.
Okay, good to know. Now, Mr. Onengu, we are slowly but surely coming to the end of our discussion here this morning. But before I let you go, what is the future like for NEAB, the Namibia Estate Agent Board?
The future looks very bright for us. As I said, with this property practitioners bill, we are very much excited. Once this bill becomes an act of parliament, there are a lot of different things that will change. Just to mention one is in Namibia, we have a lot of complexes, and the members of the public are, when they have issues with the managing agents who are not necessarily estate agents, they have nowhere to go.
Okay.
When people have issues with property developers, they have nowhere to go. So we are looking forward to that. At least now members of the public will have a platform where they can air their grievances, which will be the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority. In terms of this bill as well, or this act as well, there are certain mechanisms built in to make the processes faster, in terms of getting your money back, your refunds, etc., etc., etc. So that is what we are really looking forward to. We also, one of the objectives in the Property Practitioners Bill is that, it will be our responsibility to make sure that we educate and train members of the public. We need to inform them, of what is going on in the industry. And so I'm looking forward to that. Another objective that I'm also very excited about is that we will also be mandated to train and educate previously disadvantaged members of society, for them to get better entry into the property industry, so that there can be equitable distribution of knowledge and information on the industry itself.
Okay.
So exciting times ahead. We are looking forward to the Property Practitioners Bill, and its promulgation and so forth. And that is it.
Right. Right now, Mr. Onengu, I would like to thank you so much for taking our time off your busy schedule to come and educate the Namibian nation, especially as far as rent or acquiring properties, the deposit and refund and everything, like we have unpacked earlier, the insights and perspectives and reflections of the Namibia Estate Agent Board. We would really want to thank you so much, because there has been so much uncertainty, and for providing so much clarity that, for example, if somebody poses as an agent and they are not a real estate agent certified by the Namibia Estate Agent Board, it's a criminal offense. Some of these things were not, clear to the members of the public, and we really wholeheartedly from the GIC appreciate you coming out to educate the Namibian nation.
Thank you very much for having us. Yeah, it was a pleasure sharing this information with the Namibian people. As a closing remark, we just want to say, that is the reason for our existence. We encourage members of the public to get in touch with us, to go onto our website, and all the information as to what it is that we do, the do's and the don'ts, the code of conduct for estate agents, just as a point of interest. One very important part in the code of conduct for estate agents is that an estate agent has the responsibility. In fact, the code of conduct says an estate agent shall not do or omit to do anything that is contrary to the good morals of society. Basically,
Right.
he or she may not do anything that is not beneficial to members of the public. He or she will work in the best interest of the members of the public at all times. So the information, everything is there. It's just that sometimes, members of the public, we don't like to read. We're more on social media and so forth, and want to know and see what the social media commentators are saying. But I urge our members of the public to please go to our website. The information is there. Contact our office. The colleagues are there. They are willing and able to assist you. And thank you very much for having us again.
Right. Thank you so much. Now, Namibia, that is all the time we had for today's discussion. Please do join us again next time we unpack another fruitful discussion here at the Government Information Center. From myself, Helene Philippa Samuela, and the entire GIC production crew. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, Namibia.